November 23rd. Got something loud in the blunt, yeah. I do and say what I want, yeah. Probably somewhere sunny getting tan. Foreign women in the sun, yeah. That's all that I need. That's all that I need. That's all that I need. Got my brothers with me. Got my brothers with me and my mama's healthy. That's all that I need.
G'day and welcome to another crossover episode. It is Matty G battling the elements and the cold, battling time itself, and ageless enthusiasm for fantasy sports. Is Adam King. How are you, matey?
Pretty good, mate. Yeah, it's pretty tired, but I'm tired all the time now because I don't really sleep.
No, this is what you get for doing about, I think, 14 podcasts a day or video juice. You've done the scrap off today. I want to ask you this way. You're doing the daily show to start every day off, you know, the pre-pods. You're doing the post shows every day. Today, absolutely fucking great day to be an NBA fan, wasn't it?
Today, yes, it was. Yeah, it was. I actually got out of the house today, so I actually went to a friend's house and we just had a couple of beers and watched the two ESPN games. So we saw the Cavs and the Celtics, which was a good game, and then the Lakers and the Clippers, which was also a good game. Two good games. So it was a good day of watching basketball and talking basketball and drinking beer.
Come back home. What was your biggest thing for the day that you know? So what was a standout performance from you for fantasy-wise? And we can't say Jokic, and we can't say the guy who got the number one stat line of the night, which was Jason Tatum. Absolutely massive game for him in that loss to the Cleveland Cavaliers for the Celtics. What was another line or just another player just randomly that you picked up on and stood out to you somewhere?
Look, I mean, Josh Giddey would be an easy answer because he's been playing very well and had another good game. But let's go with probably a couple of names. I guess Bol and Zach Collins both had good games again. We don't know how long it's going to last, but enjoy it while you can. And then I actually managed to add Asar Thompson in a league yesterday.
Wow. Okay.
And I had to I picked him up knowing that I had a full roster today. So I had to find a roster spot for him. And so I can't even think who I benched, but pretty happy with Asar today. He got 5 steals. He was efficient, so he did exactly what I picked him up for. So pretty happy with that too.
And I think this is one of the guys as well who at the beginning of the season, he was out, who's come back in, he's been out, he's been playing well, but then he's been in and out of the lineup for Detroit. By the way, we've got drinks on. What up, Kingy and Matty G? Hello, of course, to you, Matty Carmody. He is the unofficial, I think, 7th Matty, who's part of the Insight tribe by this point, Matty Carmody. In fact, funny story is Matrix actually thought that was me because of all the nice stuff that he says. So what up over in Ireland, Matty Carmody? If you do have any questions in chat tonight, make sure you do drop them in here. I'm recording from the rooftop because the mother-in-law is visiting, which is a great wild, and you're in the basement of your house. And we've just got fun galore to be had for the night. Kingy, we're talking sell high, buy lows. I put together a bunch of guys that I'm gonna put up there for us. And you're going to make some comments on guys. You mentioned one of them who I want to talk about straight away, and it is Josh Giddey. I don't know if sell high is even an option for this bloke at this point in time because he has been nothing short of elite in fantasy basketball. Now we know the word on the street. Obviously, he's never finished more than 75th in his entire fantasy career. And we all love to throw these tropes around. How good is he going to be when he's never finished this one? But he has been an absolute stud lately in category leagues. He's gone up to 94% owned. For some reason, he was 93% owned, and people are still on the fence about this guy for the last couple of weeks. And when you look at these performances, he's been a top-round pick for the last few weeks. And in 10-man leagues, he's sitting there, just sitting there on the waiver wire. It's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, I guess some of those leagues are probably not as active as others might be, but yes, he's been, as you said, the last 2 weeks. He is what have I got this set at? 9 category leagues. So 9 cat leagues. He's the 2nd ranked player over the last 2 weeks.
Ridiculous. 35.6 35.6 minutes a night for Josh Giddey as well, which is just a lot of minutes after the last couple of years in OKC where he's been very down.
Yeah, it's an interesting situation because I think to start off the season, he was pretty good. But then he sort of fell away a bit. He had an injury. Lonzo Ball was sort of up. Io was trending up.
Yeah.
They got rid of Zach LaVine. And then I remember vividly getting questions on my show of what do we think about Josh Giddey? Is he a hold? Thankfully, I said yes. And I said, look, I think he will be fine. I think that they signed him. They want him. They see him as a key piece. I think he's going to get good minutes down the stretch. And thankfully, he is. But even I didn't see this coming.
Well, in the last 3 months, he's actually been the 42nd best player, which is incredible for him. Like, this is exceeding expectations. I know that Dan Titus and I did a show in the preseason, and we said those early round sleepers, those early round guys that we thought, this could change their fantasy destiny. Well, in the last month, he's been the 10th best player. So it's now been a solid month that this has been happening for. And like you said, in the last 2 weeks, he has been the second best player in fantasy. So this is wildly surpassing any expectations, well beyond his ADP. I guess it's just sweet, sweet bliss, Kingy, for any Australian who obviously in Australia we always take. You can obviously say there's a Giddey tax, and he gets probably taken a round or two before he rightly should be if you're playing in Australian league. But it's the proof is in the pudding right now. So is it sell high, or because it's been so sustainable now for so long, do we just hold and do we put feelers out there to make a move with him as an incredible asset now to get a really solid first round and back the rest of the way?
Oh, look, I mean, anyone that's on a hot stretch like this is a sell high, but I guess the questions are, well, like you said, how sustainable is this? And it has been, obviously, first round player, not sustainable, probably. But he's top 40 for the last 3 months, like you said. So if you were looking to move him, you would only move him for a top 20 player. Is anyone going to give you a top 20 player for him? Probably not. So I think you just hold him and enjoy it. And look, I mean, you look at his stats over the last 3 months, as we said, where he's been a top 40 player.
It's ridiculous.
And there's they're good, but they're not. You don't sort of read them and go, oh, wow, he can't do this. It's 14 points, 8 rebounds, 6.5 assists, 1.3 steals. Like that's nothing. He's hitting threes, he's hitting free throws, and he's getting some defensive stats. That's all it is.
The incredible thing for me, though, I'm not going to lie, it's the leaps and it's the Jokic light lines that we're seeing from this guy in the last week, in the last fortnight. Now, the last fortnight, as you can see on screen, 23 points per game on 3.3s. The free throw percentage is wild, plus 900. Field goal percentage wild, 540. But again, sustainable. It's 503 for the past month. But then we get down to the things that are really, really sexy for fantasy. 1.4 steals, 1.2 blocks in the past 2 weeks for this guy. So it's the steals. So we've got the stocks there. We've got a sexy 3 stocks a game to complement in the last week a triple-double. These are insane numbers. And if you could package him for a top 5 guy, top 10 guy, well, then that's what I'd be doing. Otherwise, I'd be holding and just rolling with this the rest of the season and looking forward to a really, hopefully, good championship run in my league, because he probably could get you. He's one of the guys. We'll do a show maybe in a week or two, King. You want the guys who won you the prize. But do you reckon, Josh? I think Josh Giddey is one of these guys that could probably unlock your season at this point in time.
Yeah, I think he probably is, and you may have even in some leagues been lucky enough to get him off waivers if he was dropped in some shallower leagues. So, yeah, look, there's a chance that you got him for free, but absolutely, if he can keep playing at this level, then he is going to win people leagues.
And this is my personal friends and family league, the Giddey Fiddlers. Funnily enough, is the team. So he's not only paying I'm naming my team the Giddey Fiddlers tax, because he needs to get drafted Josh Giddey at the end of the day. He's taken in the 5th round with the 11th pick, 67th overall. And this is probably where many we see of us here in Australian leagues will take him. But yet when we look at ADP data, he's often in the 80s or 90s. So we see that there's a couple of, if you're outside of Australia, you're drafting him much later. So if you're in America listening to this or in Europe and you're playing fantasy, well, you know what? You've definitely got a huge upgrade. In Australia, we know that there comes pros and cons with that one. Another guy who has been flying high, and we say this on the day today, where I had him the other day as a sell high when I sent it to you, Kingy, and then his last game yesterday was an absolute fucking shambles. So I was like, oh, geez, I'm a bit nervous, but I'm still okay with it because he's still going up 1%, 90% rostered. Naz Reid, I think it's sell high because of we've had Rudy Gobert out. We've had Julius Randle out, and we know that he is very close to nearing a return, if not next game. Anthony Edwards sat out today, 27 points today, 6 threes. It is the most points that he has scored since the 13th of February versus OKC. I think Naz Reid is just a classic example, especially on the back of today's game. Percentages were down. He was forced to take 25 shots today. And if you look, I'm pretty sure and I'm confident that it is a season high shot attempts for Naz. But I'd get him off my books right now and see what I can get back for him. That's a really high picking.
Yeah, he's a prime sell high guy. I'm just looking through his sort of box score here, and early in the season he was sort of doing what we thought he'd do, but the shot attempts are down in that sort of 10 to 12, maybe 13 range. And then if you look over the last what's it been, a month basically, he's as you said, he was at 25 today, but he's been at 21, 18, 16, 18, 17, 16, 16, 19, 19. So he has benefited from the fact that Julius Randle hasn't been there, Rudy Gobert hasn't been there, Dante DiVincenzo hasn't been there.
Yep, Dante as well.
Yeah, that's right. And DiVincenzo is back. Edwards will be back in the next one, and Randle and Gobert are potentially coming back in the next 2 to 3 games. So Reid will still obviously play a big role for this team, but nothing like what he's been doing for the last month.
Absolutely. And the big thing here is his field goal percentage has been absolutely atrocious the last couple of weeks as well. And you can still see he's got a very high ranking. Of course, it's in Yahoo leagues currently, which is a culmination of points and category leagues. But he still has been doing that work. Everyone loves to tout the thing of Naz Reid. His ADP here was the 8th round, just after the top 100 pick in this league for my mate Ken, who's Morning Glory tuner. He was the 7th pick in the 8th round for him. So we saw a lot of upside. But this was also a guy, Kingy, that we've seen on waiver wires in many leagues during the course of the season here. So this is where you get the return off that waiver wire guy for a guy who can help play a piece in your pool for the championship. And that's kind of what we're moving towards right now. Playoffs are very, very soon in fantasy.
Yeah, they are actually. I need to check my leagues because I'm pretty sure they could even start this. It'll either be this coming week or the week after. I think in most of my leagues. So I can tell you now.
Yeah, industry pickup is next week because I've been decimated by. I don't even want to read you my injury list. Actually, maybe I will, and it'll make you feel better about whatever's going on in some of your leagues. I was flying high in industry pickup. I was having a really good run, and I'm hanging on now by the grit of my teeth. By the way, the man chasing me, I'm up against. I'm now up after today's games, 4. I'm down 3. We've got 2 tied against Rotomancer, so shout out to him. Chopping at my heels was B-Dub, and he was from FBI Basketball. So shout out to our friend B-Dub. You could even be watching right now, B-Dub. He was just behind his guy, 5'4", Noah Rubin. Shout out to Noah yesterday. But now B-Dub's gone down 8-1. Noah Rubin's up 8-1. So that gives me a little bit. But Rotomancer is right on his heels. And it looks like next week I'm going against the big dog himself, our friend, DMAC, NBA Fantasy Bible next week, 6 versus 1. And here's my injury report for you. Norm Powell. I've had Chet Holmgren on me all year long. Larry Markkinen, Anthony Davis, DeAndre Ayton, and Alex Sarr.
Okay.
My bigs are gone. It's gone.
You have
my bigs
Chet. You have Chet. Did you say?
I have Chet, and he's just come back. Thank God.
Yeah. So you didn't see today's game?
I did. So he tweaked that ankle early on. Yep.
Yeah, it didn't look like a tweak. Have you seen it?
I haven't seen it.
I was talking about it on my show because I didn't see it, and someone said it didn't look good, and I looked at the replay. It's not. I don't think it's severe.
Bad. Yeah, maybe it's fuck me next week, basically. Yeah, and it's fuck me in the playoffs.
That's what I mean. Yeah, playoffs week 1, you might not have him.
Well, obviously, I'm taking everything to do with block shots right about now, especially with Anthony Davis already off. So I'm just going to throw caution to the wind, probably dump him onto the waiver wire and chase something else at this point because it hurt. That's my center lineup, basically completely gone. And knock on the steel timber, the steel wood that I'm on right now. But if my good special K Makovic can hold me down from a power forward spot, I just have to take a big deep breath. But yeah, it's been a bit of a shambles and a shit show industry-wise. But, mate, I think they're starting next week. So this is where we can move these guys. And I think a guy who's come back, as you can see, after this injury spate, who was well down, is one Miles Turner. He has been absolutely cracking form lately. He's made my list of this because I don't think we get this. We either see him or Pascal being fantastic. Pascal was great again today, an absolutely huge line from him, Kingy. But I think the guy here we could sell high and move off of is definitely Miles Turner here. And it depends on what you need. And I say this, Kingy, you're very good at punting. You're a punt master supreme. If you're not winning blocks every single week or rebounds, and if you just occasionally get it, and you're really good in some other areas and you need to consolidate these, would you sell high on Turner to consolidate areas you don't need or look for an upgrade on what he brings to the party? What would you do if you had a Miles Turner in your life?
Yeah, I mean, it would depend on who else is on my team and that sort of thing. But I think, look, he is one of those guys whose value is heavily tied to one category. Now, that's not to say he doesn't help you in other areas because he does help you from three. He is an above average 3-point shooter, but if you look at his value sort of across the season, it's blocks is by far his best category. So if his blocks at this point are not really helping you to win matchups, then I think, in the last 2 weeks, he's the 8th ranked player.
Exactly.
With 2.4 blocks. The points, they've been a bit above average as well, but he's not a good rebounder. We know that. He never has been. He never will be. But it's those blocks and steals that have been floating that value. So, I think if you have no need for his blocks, then now would be the time to try and move off him, get a second rounder who helps you in assists or steals or threes or whatever.
I saw Devin Booker go for Miles Turner, and I was like, look, that's a good grab. If someone's accepting that and it's a no veto league, I'm doing it. But I think you hit the nail on the head too, Kingy. We all have this perception of Miles Turner being this really great shot blocker. Well, we can see here that he's actually lowest block shots per game. Now, the 7 per game really fucking helped that out if you have had that in your squad the other day. And, that was fantastic. But he's actually at 1.8 on the season this year. It's down in his last two, 1.9 last year, 2.3 the year before. So it's in decline. His assists, they're up. His rebounds, down. Points per game, down. The threes up are great. But again, the other two things that do ding you for him is you can notice here at the bottom of the screen, the substantial hit that he's actually taken, his field goal percentage. He is sub 500 for the first time in, I think, 5 seasons now. The last 3 particularly, he's at 474. And again, his free throw percentage has dipped, and he's taking lower amount of free throws a game as well. So it doesn't ding you as much as it would have if it was last year. It was higher, and I know it's all about the volume. But these things are down. But when he's flying hot right now and he's acting above those percentages that he's getting, this is, I think, the time to strike while the iron is hot. And people are picking it up. Like, there were some leagues that he was sitting on the waiver wires, but people have bought him on in at that extra 1% in the past day in Yahoo leagues, King.
Yeah, and you're right. Like, his blocks, I mean, if you look at his value and rank and that sort of thing over the last couple of seasons, he was sort of a borderline second rounder there for a couple of years when he was at 2.5 sort of blocks. Now that he's down under 2, he's outside the top 50. And that's how quickly value can shift when you are relying on those low volume categories. So, I think a really good time to try and move on Miles Turner if someone, I think that Devin Booker trade is a great one, potentially for both teams. I mean, it's not always a trade is not a situation where one team wins necessarily. I think if you don't need blocks and you're getting Devin Booker, maybe the person who had Devin Booker doesn't need points. So there you go, win-win.
And that person was desperately looking to try and get some more blocks on their board. That they were happy to do it. I think they have Tyrese Halliburton. They asked me for the advice. I'm like, who have you got on your team? They had Tyrese Halliburton and Trae Young. So I don't know how someone left in their league or he traded for him over the course of the season. I'm like, oh, look, mate, you're flying high there. I mean, we all know Devin Booker has been incredible with the assist game lately. I've got him actually. I could probably bring him up right now. Here we go. Let's talk about it. Because I own him in this league. So if I was to talk him deep book, here we go. I've got him in this team right now. You can see his exceptional work lately, and he's been on fly. He's on my team, Blue Chips. I traded for him, and you can see lately these assist numbers have been fantastic. 8, 8, 8, 10, 9, 9, almost averaging a double per game. They wanted to improve their free throw attempts. They're up. I mean, look at Book. He's an elite free throw shooter, and he does it, generally speaking, in volume. He's been down the last couple of games, but also the threes. Devin Book is not a notoriously. We all think that he can score, but Kingy, I mean, the 6 looks like a bit of an anomaly. When you see the rest of it, 5 here and there, 2 or 3 a game is what you expect from Devin Booker, which is kind of what you get from Miles Turner at the same time.
Yeah, he's. I've looked at that before. Booker's not usually a guy I roster. I can't even remember having him on a team. And he is one of those guys that quietly doesn't help you in threes. He's not. He's obviously not bad, but he's not. I think a lot of people have him in that Steph Curry sort of he's going to give you 4 threes a game kind of thing. But if you look back over, he's at sort of between 2.2 and 2.7, which is, as you said, Miles Turner. I think we're getting roughly the same amount. So, I think it is a slight. I think it's just a bit of a
Turner's 2.2,
a bit of a misconception. I think when it comes to Booker.
I do too, because especially when we have a guy who's an elite scorer in the NBA, we expect these elite scorers to be on like 3 or 4 threes a game. He's not. You can see from the last 2 seasons, he's been at 2.1 and 2.2 respectively. This is a high for him on 2.7 a game, which is fantastic. But his assists are up, his rebounds are down. So it's a fair enough trade, especially for someone who is looking for those block shots and to improve their percentages. Well, guess what? Miles Turner is still a better field goal percentage shooter, and he is probably a worse free throw shooter. So I think if you're blowing the field goal percentage, it works for that person. But let's turn our attention now to a buy a low guy. This is a guy who's blank. He's blank. And because the playoffs are on, because he hasn't played, because we believe in the goodness that can come from end of season Fred VanVleet, because we've seen it almost systemically, Kingy, year on bloody year. Fred VanVleet does these incredible numbers at the back end of the season. He has not played now, I think, for 8 or 9 consecutive games. Mm-hmm. And some fantasy managers could be, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, mate, it's like almost 9 or 10 now. The bloke has been out for a while. Fantasy managers could be scared. I took him at the 28th overall pick. He's been down on this for the season. He's actually come back into form the last couple of months before he was injured. He was playing very well. But there's going to be some nervous fantasy managers. Now, I think he's an excellent pick end of season. I think he's going to really push it up for the Houston Rockets when he comes back. But there's going to be some people scared because of his absence of games and those zeros, man. You could trade for him, and I think it's an all-time low buy on Fred VanVleet right now.
Yeah, I think so. And look, I mean, to some degree, I think people are right to have some concern because this was a lengthy ankle injury, so he is probably he will start, but he's probably going to be eased back in a little bit. He's not going to play his full sort of 35 minutes a night or whatever he's at.
See, that's the question this is the thing, and it's on here thanks to Roto World as well. This was the interesting report that this was the thing that we were all weirded about. They don't want to bring him back on a minutes limit. So they've held him out longer so he could be fully 100%.
Okay, yeah,
so
I'm just reading that now,
Yeah, so he could get back and run. So we didn't know this news. This is literally just dropped on us today when we're like, he was going to be back just after the All-Star break. There was 2 games they played. We've gone a whole week. What's the deal here? And then we find out that, wait a minute, they don't want to play him until he's 100%, which means he's going to go back out there and just straight out run for 35 or 36 minutes a night. So there's no ramp up, which means you're going to be getting a full strength Fred VanVleet back, but paying a bargain basement price. So for me, I know what I sent this to you like 3 days ago.
Yep.
I think this is even now a bigger buy low window on Fred VanVleet because he's missed another couple since I sent that to you. He's not back, but when he comes back, he's giving you everything that he's got the rest of the season, and that's what we need in our fantasy team.
Yeah, and he's one of the more talked about players, I suppose, early in the season because of his poor shooting and he's never been a good shooter, but he's been particularly bad this season.
Yeah,
but they
need
him on the floor. His role is very safe. I know they are going to start Amen Thompson alongside him, which is interesting. That's not really a look they've had this season. It was Jabari Smith starting, but yeah, look, it'll be interesting to see if that impacts Van Fleet's assist numbers at all. I don't think it will significantly, and he's only at 5.8 assists for the season anyway. So, I think Van Fleet is certainly someone you could basically just throw anyone out now and try and get him in a trade.
And to be fair, I'll take the chops as well. I think, Kingy, you'll take a couple of hits on this one as well. I'll take some hits. We were all very high on Fred VanVleet. His ADP data of the season was well past 60 at one point. I think it was in the 80s at one point early on. We were like, come on, we've got to do better than that for this guy. He's always come in. He always comes in at the end of the season. But unfortunately, what he does well, the blocks, he's down on. The steals, he's average on this year. But the assists are down 5.8 this year. The rebounds, they're fair. Points are down. The threes are down. And the percentages are down. So it's been a bit of an L for many of the managers. But that's actually good for us trade-wise because if we're not high on him, we'll be like, well, wait a minute. Shit, this guy's underperformed where I got him. Offer some quality. And I think you could get him back really easy, mate.
Yeah, I think so. Obviously, if you're trying to acquire him, whoever's got him has been holding him for quite a while. So they might be a bit hesitant just because they're of the opinion, well, I've held him for a month. I want to see what he can bring me. But again, with playoffs just around the corner, now is the time when you can make some of those offers and maybe you look at the team that has him and they need blocks or they need something that VanVleet isn't necessarily going to help them with. So that is when you can swoop in and try and grab a bargain.
Now, this is another guy, point guard-wise, because point guards who are quality are often overlooked. And someone who's been getting a little bit less shine lately, who's been incredibly exceptional this year, he has surpassed all expectations, has been one Darius Garland, my boy Matrix. Shout out to him. I know. Shout out to him on the Patreon as well. By the way, I've got something else I'll mention in a second as well. But I know he hooked you up with getting onto the Inside Patreon. Matrix owns this guy. He has been a little bit down lately. Now, this was a guy who was the best Cav on the season for a long period of time, Kingy. He has been down a little bit lately, a little bit of an injury woe when I mentioned this to you earlier this week. Now, he came back today, played really, really well. The percentages are down, 391. But I said it was a prime buy low candidate because his two previous games were, the 18, the 15, and then the 9 points. And then he was out injured for a couple. So when you're down on where you were, the 17, the 15, the 18 on these 20-point plus games, you're like, oh, okay. Now, what I need him for is assist in the low turnovers, which is what he's really capped over. You can see today, 1, 2, 2. Whereas last year, these 4, 5, 5 games were more like 6, 7, 8 games. And it was really tanking his value hard. The steals are there. They haven't been there as much. But I think he's going to return to favor, especially with them really wanting to hold down this number 1 seed in the East. This number 1 seed, though, in the NBA. We saw it today. We saw him work really well with Donovan Mitchell. We saw him step back and let Don have his times. We saw him aggressive. This guy took a lot of gutsy shots on great fucking defenders like Drew Holiday, putting himself one-on-one against Derek White, a superior NBA guard defender, and he still comes away with 23 and 7. If there's any way you can pull this guy into your roster and buy low, I think it's been this window of the last couple of weeks, especially with this low. If you're throwing someone out there with a high field goal percentage, I think Darius Garland just fits slightly into my buy low window because he could change your destiny going forward.
Yeah, I think he is another one that we can buy low on. That window is probably closing as we speak, though. Like, I think it's probably still ajar, but he was pretty good today. I have not concerns, but I do think that we're probably going to reach a point where Cleveland do start resting guys because they're just way.
Do you think that though against OKC if it comes down to it? Because I'm looking at this is the thing that I'm wondering about. Like they got back today against Cleveland. Now we know that they didn't have KP today on the Celtics and they went this with the standards. I'm looking at that now. They are 7 wins clear now of Boston, which is. I mean, it doesn't lock anything up. Boston just needs a hitter. However, it's only 1 win above OKC. And I think there is a very hot chance, unless something distinguishes OKC and Cleveland, that Cleveland's going to be thinking that they're good for the chip. And if they need it, and they probably will, need a game 7 against such a superior defense like OKC, that they want that home court advantage. And I think that that's what they're pushing for this year. And I think it's for Kenny Atkinson to get that Coach of the Year award, which I think he is in very hot pursuit. It's either him or JB Bickerstaff. You know what I mean? They're their former coach, for the love of God, over in Detroit, that I think has got dead set rights on Coach of the Year. Do you think that they actually let the foot off the gas? Because I think they play. And I don't think that's something I usually would have said about Cleveland.
Yeah, I think that's probably pretty fair. I think I think they might. I just think they're that good that it will depend on matchups. But I think if they're like, I haven't looked at their schedule, but if they're playing Washington or they're playing Charlotte, then those will be the games, I think, where they will go, okay, we can get Garland a night off. They're not going to rest. I don't think we'll see a situation where they're just going to say Garland, Donovan Mitchell take a week off, or it won't be anything like that. It will just be the odd game here or there. Let's get Mobley a little bit of rest. Let's get Jared Allen a night off because we're playing Brooklyn, who are terrible. So that I think is where they will do the same. But the same, I think, can be said for OKC, for Boston, for a number of teams. So I don't think that's necessarily going to steer me away from trying to buy low on Darius Garland, because you could make that case for any number of players. So I still think, I'd be trying to buy low. But as I said, he was pretty good today. So I think that window, another good game, and it's probably going to be pretty hard to grab him.
And what I like is the Cavs playoff schedule. As you can see up here, the advanced playoff grid. They've got a whole bunch of games, like 3. They've got the 4, 4, 3, and 4, depending on when your playoffs go. And if you go into the advanced NBA schedule grid, we're here right now. We're about to kick off into March. And if you look at them, they've got Miami, Chicago. They've got Charlotte and Milwaukee. You can see what they've got. They've got Brooklyn, Memphis, Orlando. Then they wrap up the next week with the Clippers, the Kings. Oh, okay. Phoenix Suns. Maybe you get some rest there in Utah. And then we've got the Trailblazers, the Spurs, the Pistons, who they're going to definitely want to beat in the East, and the Clippers. So it is a little bit, they don't have a lot of back-to-backs where they could rest as well, which is interesting. Only 3 games in this one, and they don't play until the Wednesday in week 22. And then in the April season, to finish it off, they wrap up against Chicago, the back-to-back against Indiana and New York. And I don't think against these teams at their very final week, if you are still playing fantasy basketball in this point of the season, that they rest anyone unless they're really secure. They'd probably play them on the Indy and rest versus the Knicks, because this is a team that they've historically been beaten up on by. Yeah. And I don't think we see them put themselves out there in front of the bus. And I love my boy Skitty. And I know Skitty is a massive Cavs fan, but I don't think we see them really go belly up for that one. Kingy, you've been doing a redraft league. Let's wrap this up real soon. If you've got any questions before we get out of here, though, wrap it down. Do you want to screen share? Do you want to screen share the redraft league?
Yeah, let me just bring it up.
Talk to us about this one, because I wasn't part of it, so I'm a conscientious objector, as they say. This redraft league.
No, it was. I popped it in. I can't even think where I put it now. It didn't even make it to the group chat. It was. I think I asked. I don't know. I asked a couple of people, and they said, "Oh, I'll go and ask this person." And then I asked, someone, and it sort of just, as these things
escalated quickly.
They do. And so, yes, it didn't even hit the group chat.
This is where I've really been, like, when I've sat back and I've seen these standings from you and where people are being drafted, I'm like, oh, Jesus, really?
Yeah.
Like, this has been great fun.
Let me just make that a bit bigger.
This is what we do, Matty Carmody. Fuck off. Don't say thank you. It's what we do. Like, of course it's what we do. We love you, Matty C. You're happy we could do it, mate. That's what we're here for. That's what Kingy especially.
All right. So there's the draft there.
Here we go.
I can you
zoom it?
Yeah, maybe. Hang on. I can probably make that a bit bigger. I mean, we'll have to do some scrolling.
No.
But that's all right. That's okay. There we go.
Did Kayla just fucking giggle? when Jokic fell into her lap?
Yeah, look, this was done before the Wemby injury. So to be fair to Karan, who took the first pick, this was done before we had news that Wemby was out for the season. So, but yeah,
and again, this is the old argument though, because I mean, Jokic has still been the number one guy on the year before the injury as well. So whether it was before the injury or after the injury, when I saw this, I'm like, wow, Karan, my guy.
Yeah. Look, I went on the Bitches Be Ballin' show with Kayla and Yuri, and Kayla was pretty happy to land Jokic at number 2. I must say.
She actually she DM'd me out of the blue and was like, I got Jokic with pick 2, right? Because she knows what a Jokic truther I am for number 1, and I was just like, I'm delighted for you. Take us through the round. Take us through the first 4 rounds.
Okay. So Wemby, as you said, went at 1. Wemby, Jokic, Shea, fairly standard. Nothing to really debate there. Cat went at number 4, which was interesting. I don't think it's a terrible pick. I do think Cat is dealing with a number of injuries at the moment, so I worry that down the stretch he's going to be a little bit banged up and not probably the player he has been. But then we went. Noah Rubin took Jason Tatum, very safe. Per game, probably not, but he generally plays most games.
Who's Green Jeans, by the way?
Green Jeans? That's Yuri. So that's right. Yuri, who I don't know why she's called Green Jeans, actually. Chad picked it, pick 6, and he took Halliburton. So that one caused a bit of discussion. But when you actually dig into the numbers, Halliburton's like the 10th ranked player this year. So he hasn't been terrible. And if you think about how bad he was for the first month, I think it's fine. Like he was good today. He was very good in the game before that. So I have no issues with Halliburton going there.
And can I just say as well, and this is a big thing. I was in a league, you know that ball league that we talk about occasionally. You know the 200 players. This is in Champs League as well. So this is all the winners who've won League A through Z in Champs League, but the top 10 of those, whatever. It's like this big shakeup. He was traded, and I think the first 2 weeks of the season, straight up for Jalen Williams. And people were like all up in arms about vetoing at that time. And we forget how hot Jalen Williams was to start the season. But in the full month, Tyrese Halliburton has now clawed his way back from being outside the top 100 to being the 6th player on the season, like you said. Yeah. So that's 100%. And in the past month as well, Tyrese Halliburton has been the 4th best player. So this is where, that perception versus reality, you see him there and I'm like, yeah, it's fair enough.
Yeah. And look, we actually talked about Tyrese on the show quite a bit because he was a player that, as I said, he warranted a bit of discussion there at 6. But I think coming into last year, which was Tyrese's first full year with the Pacers, our expectations were that he would be high teens in the points, double-digit assists, 1.5 steals. But then he came out and was scoring 25 a game, and everyone's expectations just went up. And so I think if you look at the numbers he's putting up this year and compare them to what we actually thought he would be doing 2 years ago, he's bang on. And obviously Siakam is there now. He wasn't there at the time. So
correct.
A lot has changed. So I'm fine with him. Luka went at 7, Tyrese Maxey at 8, which, look, if Maxey plays the rest of the season out, he's going to be huge. So I think Raf does like a bit of Tyrese Maxey, so I wasn't surprised to see him go that direction. Giannis went at 9, that's fine. Anthony Edwards at 10. I took Kyrie Irving at 11. And
great pick. I saw that by you, and I'm like, masterstroke. I love Kyrie. I love Kyrie.
And that was before the Anthony Davis injury.
It was.
So it worked out even better. But, with no Luka there, Kyrie, I'm not sure of their direction now, but we'll see. Kyrie,
this brings me to the turn. This was before the AD injury. Yeah. And the name that's been missing from the first round is Anthony Davis.
Yes. So I think it was because Anthony Davis was in. Oh, no, maybe it was after. No, maybe it was after the Anthony Davis injury because he got injured before the All-Star break, didn't he?
Just before, but it's just before the All-Star break where you still got to think about the rest of the season if we were drafting as is, or maybe not before. But then you can see him straight down a dotted line in the 6th round, pick 9, which I thought was an absolute steal for Alex, like massive steal.
Yeah, so this obviously was, and look, if he comes back in 2 weeks, then that's an awesome pick. It probably wins you your league. But if he's out for the rest of the season, then you've probably wasted a 6th round pick. So you just don't know. Dane went at 12, and then we were on the turn. Obviously, Steph Curry went next. I took Cade Cunningham to pair with Kyrie Irving.
I love that. Yeah, huge. We said we were going to talk about Cade. How great has Cade been this year? He's got to make one of the NBA first teams, whether it's one, it's going to be 2 or 3. But what a revelation that Cade Cunningham has been for this guy that we wanted to see good things for. And I know you probably paid the Cade Cunningham tax because you love Cade too, but mate, hasn't he been fantastic? Apart from today, but he's been fantastic.
Yeah, today, but I think we'll give them a pass on that one.
We'll give him a pass. All pass for Cade.
And this is what we've sort of been expecting from Cade for the last couple of years. They've just been a bad team with a weird team build, like a poorly run organization, poorly coached. So everything has just fallen into place this season, and we're seeing how quickly a team can change with just by moving a few key pieces around. They didn't really add anyone significant. Tobias Harris, Malik Beasley, like they're not game-changing players, but they fit. They do what they need to do, and they've got a good coach. So Cade went Sabonis, Trae Young, Donovan Mitchell, James Harden, Scotty Barnes. And I mean, all these guys speak for themselves. I don't think we need to sort of dissect it too much. Kevin Durant, Jalen Brunson. Josh Hart at 22 was very interesting to...
I love it. I love it. I love it. Big dick energy. Can I just say from Yuri? I honestly, big whatever energy you want to call it.
Yeah,
I love I love Josh Hart. You know how high I was in him last season. You know I love him, and I literally had to avoid drafting him this year because he didn't give me what I wanted for him. And then this is the year that he's done what I wanted him to do last year. But in the 2nd round, Jesus, Mother Mary and Joseph, that's really a high price for Josh Hart.
It is high. But I guess Woody have been there because we did 3rd round reversal. So,
oh really? You did 3rd round reversal?
Yeah, we did 3rd round reversal. So
I think it's worth it still. And this is I'm not sure I'm not sure I'm for 3rd round reversal. I think with injuries being what they are this year, I think this has been. I don't know. For me now, with injuries being what they're being, and we've just seen it with Victor Wembanyama. You do 3rd round reversal, and then this happens. So anyone is susceptible. Blah 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 blah. Susceptible. My gosh. Susceptible. Yep. There you go, to injury. Yep. So I don't think we need to do 3rd round reversal. I don't think it's necessary. You get what you get, and you can draft from there accordingly. Because now, I've drafted. I'm a truther in one league. I drafted Wemby when I had the number 1 pick, and I regret it to my dying day. I just don't know if it's necessary. That's another argument for another time.
Oh, it is. Look, in a 12-team league, potentially not. I still think deeper leagues, 16-team leagues, probably.
16 teams, but I think maybe,
But 12s, look, part of this was I set this up in a rush because it filled so quickly, and I just copied the league settings from one of my leagues, and it happened to be a 16-team league that had 3rd round reversal. So I just didn't change the settings.
Well, Alex has 2 things for you. A huge year from Cade, but I'll flip my lid if former number 1 gets most improved. We can talk about that in a second. Alex, Kingy, perfect. You can do this. For the uninformed, what is 3rd round reversal? Because we've had questions on this before. Please tell the people what that is exactly.
So you will see, let me just make it a bit smaller just so it's easier, so we can see all the picks. I know it'll make it smaller, but it's easy to explain.
Yeah, this is because people still say, what is that? And I'm like, well, you flip the thing, and they're like, what? So
So you can see here. You can see here that the picks are numbered. So round 1, pick 1. Round 1, pick 2. Round 1, pick 3. So it goes through 1 through to 12. Steve St. Pierre picked at pick 12. He then picks first in round 2. It's normal snake draft. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, now down to 12 with Karan, who picked with the last pick. In a standard snake draft, he would pick next as the first pick of the third round. Third round reversal means we flip the order, so it jumps back to Steve at the other end of the draft. And the idea behind that is that if you are picking at 1, 2, 3, the player you are getting there is such a good player that people picking at 10, 11, 12 are disadvantaged because they have no shot at getting someone like a Jokic or a Shea or a Wemby. So you even it out by then giving them an early pick in the third round as well as the second round. So that's the thought process behind it. And in a deeper league, obviously that gap widens even further because if you're picking at the back end of the first round, you're picking at pick 15 and you pick again at 17 or something, and then not again until 30 something. So that's the thought process behind it, is that it evens out the draft. It's fine. Like I'm sort of an advocate for a yes, no, just talk to your league mates.
Yeah,
I'd still prefer auction. If you've got time, do an auction draft. That's what I'd say.
Yeah, and I am all for it. And this is I've done it before. I'm either for it or against it. And I think it's become more. You'd agree with me on this one. It's become more prevalent in our NBA conversations with Victor Wembanyama because of his implications of the block category and being able to single-handedly turn it on its head. And and this is the interesting thing. We haven't had this conversation. I mean, we've had the conversation, but I don't think it's as been predominant with Nikola Jokic being undisputably the best player for like the last 3 or 4 seasons in fantasy. But then Victor turns it on its head. Now, this has become a common thing, but this is the great thing. So it's a great thing if you want to do it. Again, in deeper leagues, like you say, it absolutely becomes a must. And for those who are paying attention, most improved player, $1.40, Cade Cunningham. The next best option is Norm Powell at $3.50, Tyler Hero, Evan Mobley, Christian Braun, and Dyson Daniels at 56 to 1. Jeez, that's worth a bit of a. If you could somehow put NBA Defensive Player of the Year, let me tell you what this one. If you could somehow, because Evan Mobley is 1 for that, Jaren Jackson is 2. If you could put Dyson Daniels on for Defensive Player of the Year, and if the NBA had the balls to give Most Improved, I like to call this one the Kingy Orgasm Parlay. Because Dyson Daniels winning, this is, you can't even do it on Sportsbet, but that would be paying 100 to plus to 1 for Dyson Daniels to look at your smile. Yeah. Look at your smile right there.
Yeah, he won't win Most Improved. I honestly think he should win Defensive Player of the Year. I don't know if he will, but Evan Mobley's been good. Jaren Jackson's been good, but Dyson Daniels is just a freak. Like
Unfortunately, it's that whole thing about
he plays for Atlanta.
Yeah, he plays for Atlanta. So that's where I'm thinking maybe they honor him with the Most Improved Player of the Year because they can't give him Defensive Player of the Year. Anyway, but continue through. We're at the turn right now. Jaren Jackson finished that off with Karan, and then, like you said, the third round reversal switches back up to Steve St. Pierre to Chet Holmgren. Yeah.
So Chet went there. Then I took Trey Murphy with the second pick of the third round. Şengün, Jalen Williams, Evan Mobley, LeBron James, Desmond Bain, De'Aaron Fox, Franz Wagner. If it's a Zubats, so Yuri's gone Josh Hart. If it's a Zubats,
and then
interesting.
Did Dyson Daniels in the 4th?
Yeah. So Kayla then took Vooch for whatever reason with the 11th pick of the third round. She couldn't really explain that one.
I would love to understand. I'm going to message her right now and be like,
LaMelo,
the Vooch pick. Talk to me about it.
LaMelo went next. Then it was Porzingis. Now, Kayla admitted that she actually forgot that Dyson Daniels was on the board here because you have to scroll down a little bit to find him. So she took Siakam. And then as soon as that happened, I know Yuri messaged Kayla and said, why didn't you take Dyson? And of course, she took Dyson. I knew Dyson wasn't going to get back to me.
Yeah, 100%.
But I didn't want to take him with the second pick of the third round. And I have him in enough real leagues that I don't need him in a mock draft. So
This shows you though how much Onyeka Okongwu has come in for you to even be flirting with him in the 4th round, considering in many leagues he was drafted outside the top 100. So him and Josh Hart are the 2 top 100 picks that have worked their way into early rounds right now. Whereas Zubac, which is I know you and I both preached and espoused from the Raptors how great he could be. Even in a league like this, where he's going in the 3rd round in an industry league, he was around the 80s and 90s when we were doing drafts, man. And we were talking about, like, we've just got to get this guy into our teams because he's that good.
Yeah, that's right. Yep. And he was, and he's been very good. Not very, very unflashy, but just very solid, as we thought coming into the season. No competition for minutes at all. And you play with James Harden, you play with Kawhi Leonard, you play, Ben Simmons is there now, he's not doing a lot, but he's another good ball handler. So no, I think that was fine. And so we'll round this one up round 4. After Dyson Daniels went Tyler Hero, Amen Thompson, Jarrett Allen, Darius Garland, Bam Adebayo, Jamal Murray, Jaylen Brown, Onyeka Okongwu, and Derek White. So
I do want to touch there on the first pick of the 5th round, though, Joel Embiid. He's out for the season now, as we know. That does show you like how far from grace he has fallen. I know Alex McLean cries nightly that Embiid has let him down, but he has been absolutely nothing short of phenomenal until this year when he decides to let us down. Mate, what are you working on? What is the go? What is coming up for Kingy apart from the daily shows?
Daily shows. The pre-game shows haven't really been coming as much, just only because I'm not sleeping great because of my knee. So I don't really wake up early enough or prepared enough to do a morning show. But the post-game shows are happening. Articles are coming out. Doing shows with whoever asks me to go on their show, really. So it's business as usual, but as we said at the top of the show, time to focus on the playoffs.
Absolutely, baby. Absolutely. It is. Make sure you like and subscribe to all things. Here's Adam King, 91. Do not subscribe to Adam King, 92. It is a very dark, because that person has a very, very dark history and we don't need to know about it. Make sure you subscribe to all of his things and to obviously FBI Basketball International. Me, I am at NBA G Wiz. You can find me at NBA G Wiz, and also all of the content thanks to our good friends. Matt, you're in Supercoach right now. If you like NBA, I've got you. NBL, Matrix has got you. Matrix has also got you for NRL and AFL. You're in that right now. You can get onto the Patreon as well, can't you, mate?
Yes. Yep. I'm just about to watch the live team reveals. From I think they were from tonight, actually. I think they did it tonight at 8:30. So I'm going to watch. They were
on the same time as us. So they were on the same time as us because I didn't want you to get in first for your team reveal. So I thought I'd just hold you up to the side for a quick second and do this one. And the other thing is we're also on Instagram right now. I've started, there's like 200 of you right now. We have a brand new Insight Instagram. You can check it out here. King, I don't know if you do you do the Instagram much? Are you an Instagrammer?
I'm too old for that.
You're too old for the pictures. You can check it out right here. We've got a brand new Instagram that has just launched. This is it. We break it down. We do almost daily updates from that. We do the top 5 positionals. We do the big games, the ready to rise, like when Ben Simmons was signed, injury updates. It is get out your phones right now. Just hit it because you're probably watching this from your phone. It's at Insight NBA Fantasy. We've got all your content. We've got everything coming your way. Make sure you like and subscribe to all things us and FBI Basketball International, our good friends. And make sure, by the way, thank you to Standard Squeeze, because I've been here on the roof tonight with my drinking from my 4-in-1, and it wouldn't be as great if it wasn't for this one. Kingy, mate, we'll see you soon. Everyone, take care of yourselves. Be well. Playoffs are just around the corner. Be well. We'll see you soon. Bye.
You just listened to another episode from the Fantasy Basketball International Podcast Network. Thanks for joining us. And for more information about joining our community, please check out our website at fbibasketball.com.